Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I just did it again. Oops, I did it again. I just backed up the truck again on some Polysun, bought it with, they're still on Link2, they're still running this deal. So what I did is I used some more of my XLM and I bought Polysun through, Link2 is my sponsor, but also Uphold. So I had my XLM sitting on Uphold, the wallets are linked. I bought the Polysun. And then the deal is, let's see what the deal is exactly, so I'm saying it right. This means you invest $10K in a company, you'll receive $1K USD. So they drop the USDC into your Uphold account. You can go and open a Link2 account. You can also open an Uphold account. Both those links will be in the top of the description. Click on it, tell them DAI sent you. Now let's check in with the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel.
Can't make this up. Ripple should settle. Ripple's settlement could be catastrophic for the industry. Ripple can't settle. They must fight for everybody. Give me a break. Ripple's going to do what's best for Ripple and their ecosystem. Free Ripple. You try having Gary probe your ass for 2 years. All the while hiring people, growing your business, and being transparent. You get a lawsuit dropped on you on Christmas and have to deal with FUD for 2 years. Free the Ripple.
All right. In my interview that I did on ProCoin News, who is the official sponsor of the Digital Asset Investor Fishing and Hunting and Fishing Club, I did my interview with them this week, and they were asking me about giving the names out on my channel, the official this, the official that. I told them my favorite is the official cool guy of the Digital Asset Investor channel because he's cool and he wants to free the Ripple. That sounds like a thumbnail. Let me write that down in honor of the cool guy. Maybe I'll put that on the thumbnail today. I like that. Okay. Now, so let me show you this. This is from Jim Rickards. Listen to this.
First of all, that article is exactly right. We've been talking about recession, inflation, deflation, but the one thing we haven't spoken about yet, you kind of just referred to it, is there a global liquidity crisis coming? And a liquidity financial crisis is different from a recession. Sometimes you can have one without the other. 1990 we had a recession, there was no crisis. 1998 we had a crisis, there was no recession. The economy was fine in 1998, but the financial world almost came to an end. Sometimes they come together, and that's what happened in 2008. We may be looking at a scenario like that. By the way, 65 trillion in foreign currency derivatives, yeah, but try 1 quadrillion in total derivatives. I mean, that's foreign currency, and that was the focus of the BIS paper. But when you get into interest rate swaps and commodity swaps and swaptions and all the rest, that's 1 quadrillion, which for people not familiar with the Q word is 1,000 trillion. So you pointed to 65 trillion, and you're right, that's FX, but there's 1,000 trillion or 1 quadrillion of derivatives off balance sheet of the banking system, supported by collateral, a little sliver of collateral, and there's a dollar shortage, and that's getting ready to implode.
So, we're not painting a rosy picture here, obviously.
1 quadrillion, that sounds like.
With all these moving pieces and question marks and whatnot.
All the money.
The global outlook is pretty gloom and doom, Jim, but I like that in your book.
Okay, now listen to this. This is a video. It's got David Schwartz in it. It has Brianna Madigan, who used to be with Ripple. I don't think
one of the things that I've said a lot is that proof of work is kind of a technological dead end. It works fine. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying that there hasn't been any significant innovation in it. There are also changes that are in the form of new features. One of the features that I think is very exciting is a feature that would allow people to launch, stablecoins are the obvious use case, but it's not just stablecoins. It's essentially assets pegged to some external value. Features similar to that exist on other systems, but the interesting thing about this is that the liquidity is guaranteed by the ledger mechanics.
Why is liquidity important for market stability and health then?
I think even to take a step back, liquidity has a lot of components that are important to kind of address. So one of which is immediacy. So I think about that as how quickly can I get access to markets and how quickly can I trade into and out of this asset or token for another asset. I think about the breadth of the market. So breadth is sort of how you think about the trading volumes at different prices in the order book. And then depth of the market. And depth of the market is really about how many orders there are close to exactly where the price is currently trading of varying sizes, which would imply that you could get a lot of volume through without having much price movement as you're trading into and out of the asset. And then in addition, accessibility is very important. So accessibility is just probably as it intuitively sounds, the ability to access markets to trade in those assets very easily. And that can be geographically or through multiple infrastructure partners, whether it's exchanges or OTC desks or what have you. And the last key attribute of a healthy liquid market is really resilience. And that is getting at the ability for a market to recover from a significant systemic event. So if there was some sort of a market shock, the ability for order books to get back to normality and tighten back to similar prices to where they were prior to that event relatively quickly. And so all of those attributes are very important to a healthy liquid market.
There you go. Okay, now there's a lot going on today. Everybody is really uncovering, they're seeing what's really going on with this FTX thing. Watch this. Gary's on the hot seat.
And an innovation.
Well, not really yet. These guys are on to him, though.
Clear. I believe in the promise of digital assets and those around the world building on blockchain technologies. And that's why I've worked and will continue to work to provide clear rules of the road for the digital asset ecosystem here in the United States. And that's how we protect American consumers and investors in this marketplace and allow innovation to occur here in the United States. I'll finish with this. We know the Securities Exchange Commission Chair Gensler's regulation by enforcement approach is not going to stop bad actors. Next year, I look forward to hearing from Mr. Gensler early and often. And we'll hear from him on how we can provide clarity on the application of our securities laws to trading platforms, which he has failed to do. The Financial Services Committee has an important role to play in this fact-finding.
Yep, Gary's going to quit, unfortunately, before you guys. I don't think Gary has the guts to go up there and face the fire. I think Gary's lived his whole life protected by all of his cronies. But here we go. This is QuickBooks. Wait till you hear this. The hearings from FTX are going on in Congress. This is Mr. Ray. I think his name's John Ray. He's the guy that I think they installed as interim CEO at FTX after it all collapsed. Listen to this.
Mr. Ray, you have compared FTX as worse than Enron. Can you please elaborate on some of the specific ways FTX is worse than one of the largest corporate frauds in history?
The FTX group is unusual in the sense that, I've done probably a dozen large, scale bankruptcies over my career, including Enron, of course. Every one of those entities had some financial problem or another. They have some characteristics that are in common. This one is unusual, and it's unusual in the sense that literally, there's no record keeping whatsoever. It's in the absence of record keeping. Employees would communicate, invoicing and expenses on Slack, which is, essentially a way of communicating for chat rooms. They use QuickBooks, a multi-billion-dollar company using QuickBooks. QuickBooks.
A multi-billion-dollar company uses QuickBooks. You can't make this stuff up. Just like the fact that yesterday we found out that Gary Gensler, I covered this, we found out that Gary Gensler deleted or scrubbed what's supposed to be the public calendar of the meetings. He works for us, right? Public calendar, and he took off the fact that he met with Hillary Clinton. I'm not supposed to say that. I don't say that name on this channel. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Take it back. I didn't mean to say that. I don't say certain words, and that's one of them. And I said, the fact that this is not front page everywhere shows just how corrupt our media is in the United States now. But Zero Hedge is not the establishment media, and so they did cover it. SEC Chair Gensler scrubbed evidence of you-know-who and Soros and Pelosi meetings and this took a lawsuit to find this out, folks. Took a lawsuit. And then it says, then this is from Crypto Law. It says, how did the cop on the beat let a multi-billion dollar fraud unfold under his nose while suing Ripple for 2 years and destroying LBRY, who was protected? Gary Gensler's dysfunctional leadership is a very big part of the FTX story. And I said the SEC chairman should be sitting in the front row. Question number 1, did you delete or not include meetings that you had on your public calendar? Eleanor Terrett says, breaking. Now the CFTC is also filing fraud charges against Sam Bankman-Fried, as is the SEC. Okay? And here, this says on page 6, the complaint against SBF says that Ether and Tether, as well as Bitcoin, are all commodities. Now, this is a first, folks. And this, you know what this tells me? When I see this, Tether has never been called a commodity. When I see this, you know what it screams to me? Is that the government's been behind Tether from day one. That's what, when I see that, they've been protecting Tether from day one, which tells me that the government's been behind it from day one. Just like I think the government, or a government, was behind Bitcoin. And I think, might even be able to say Ether, who knows? And then it says, SEC chair says they're ready to take action. So now all of a sudden they're ready to take action against other crypto companies. They're going to use FTX. They're going to hold up and say, oh, see, we need to be more aggressive. And you'll never guess who it looks like they're going to go after first. They had a Justice Department threat or something yesterday that they were going to go after Binance. So what does that cause? Withdrawals at Binance. This is how you can sink a company pretty much, I think. Binance sees withdrawals of $1.9 billion in the last 24 hours. And then this is Patrick McHenry. I think he was on CNBC this morning.
Do you think that Sam Bankman-Fried bought off Washington? I know you think that there's been influence in the media and elsewhere. He clearly made investments in a number of media organizations.
He tried. And if you look at the interview, not just the one you did with DealBook, which I would commend to anybody who's interested in the space, but his interview he did with Vox, it shows that he was a manipulator of world-class capacity, and he was trying to pull off something that was light touch regulation for his platform. And that's why he worked both the Securities Exchange Commission and the CFTC, seeking out a CFTC or commodities regulatory regime for his platform. So what I'm looking at is a proper balance so that consumers will not fall prey to FTX or some successor to Sam Bankman-Fried.
All right. He had a couple of good clips. Here's another one.
Congressman, wouldn't it be pretty easy to change the rules so that the SEC could protect investor interest in this? I mean, that's what they were created for. Isn't there a way to just say, yes, they can make sure that investors aren't being defrauded? Can't Congress fairly simply do that?
Yes, and because the Securities Exchange Commission has failed to do that, we have to step in. Congress has to step in. What we've seen under the Gensler regime is he said, come on in and talk to me. Their reference from the Securities Exchange Commission is they refer to FTX as a unregulated crypto exchange. Well, there is no means to be a regulated crypto exchange here in the United States. There is no law that creates that structure, nor any regulation from the SEC. The one decision that Gary Gensler's made that has had an impact today is a lack of custody regulation for digital assets. And the SEC has made a proactive decision on custody that is problematic for consumers. I think we have to highlight that over a period of time and a number of hearings to come in order to get clarity and build out a solid regulatory regime, and force of law.
All right, so there's that one. And then, I mean, it's just, I can't even stomach listening to Jay Clayton. To have this guy come in and weigh in on all this, he did nothing for this industry while he was there. Just in Sam Bankman-Fried's parents received payments from FTX, new CEO John Ray says. And then there's this. Check this out from Tom Emmer. So Gary Gensler knows that FTX was fraudulent from its inception. This is egregious considering he had more meetings with Bankman-Fried than anyone in the space to discuss a crypto regulatory framework designed to benefit FTX alone. He will be held accountable. This is from the case from SEC against FTX that they filed. From the inception of FTX, Bankman-Fried diverted FTX customer funds to Alameda, and he continued to do so until FTX's collapse in November 2022. This is Gary Gensler, who runs the SEC of the United States of America, who over and over and over, he hasn't prevented anything. He presided over MF Global. He presided over Luna. He presided over FTX. What else? Celsius. He presided over BlockFi. He actually helped in causing BlockFi to get crushed. Now it looks like he's about to cause Binance to get crushed. This guy is the problem. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. The problem's very clear. What it really comes down to is whether he will be held accountable. Tom Emmer. Thanks for listening.